Double the pleasure, double the fun with double mint gum.
Double mint gum.
Matt's real
Double
mad
mint
about
gum. Double mint gum. Hey, look at that gum. It's double.
Welcome to Perception Check, where sometimes we quote commercials from the late 2000s.
You think you're having fun? Double it.
Yeah, welcome to Perception Check, the actual Play D&D podcast, where we play D&D, sort of, in our homebrew world. We are back after a major hiatus. We have not done anything for a while. Life's been a little bit crazy. There will perhaps be some announcements of some of that craziness in the future, but we'll see. Some things we may not be able to necessarily talk about yet, but it's all good things. One thing we can talk about is, if you want... Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Go ahead.
We're having a baby? Is that it?
My baby and me.
Another baby.
No, I was going to say your new cardigan is really cool.
Thanks.
Yeah, well,
You're
we should have mentioned
pregnant?
that first, but yeah, we're having a new baby. And
It's baby
life's
number
been crazy.
7?
We've got some.
I was going to say 7.
No, this is number 4.
Call me when you're having an old baby.
Right?
That would
But
be
it's the
impressive.
third baby born since the conception of this podcast.
Yeah, it's
so.
very
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. If there's one thing about our show, love it or hate it, it's a baby maker.
Yeah, and then we've all had some pretty, some interesting life changes just in general, career changes, all sorts of stuff. And it has kept us away from each other, including COVID.
Yeah.
That kept us away. Like, we got it, so we had to take it away from everyone. We had to keep away from everybody for a long time. And that was really unfortunate. It sucked. It sucked because we were vaccinated and we really thought we weren't going to have to deal with it. But what are you going to do?
I was
bad.
a nurse working
Yeah.
on a COVID unit, so I'm
Yeah.
not really surprised.
Honestly,
Yeah,
I'm
odds
surprised
weren't
we made
great.
it this far. We made it 2
Yeah.
whole years
Wow.
without getting it. And, we really only got a mild case. Honestly, I think the kids had it the easiest. They probably had symptoms for like 48 hours and they were done.
Wow.
And obviously 2 of them couldn't get vaccinated, so that was difficult. We were very worried. 2 weeks. It was 2 weeks of absolute terrible. Not as bad as it would have been from other people who have not gotten vaccinated, but we're glad that we did.
Yeah.
Very glad.
Well, I am also glad to be here with all of you around this table. So I will run through where we left off because it has been some time. I did have to prep you guys on what we did last time because no one remembered. So I'm assuming the listeners probably have had a little bit of a hard time as well. Matt raised his hand.
I remembered.
Oh, Matt, bonus points. You get inspiration for being a good listener, boy. That's not true. Fuck you.
You get a piece of the brownie cheesecake that your wife made.
Yeah.
So, okay, hold on. Would you like to test me on this? Because I was upstairs with our youngest
Yeah.
when this was happening. Would you like to test me?
Yeah. Okay. What?
I want you to do a last episode quiz.
What happened this last episode?
We found out that River sacrificed herself, and I don't remember her name. Phaedra came into my office, and I said very next thing that we were doing was running out of the office and figuring out what was going to happen to River.
Okay.
That was the end of the episode.
That was it? That was the only thing that happened?
No, that wasn't the only
In that
thing
two-parter?
No, I mean... So here's the thing. That's too much to cover, but that was where we left off. And I
Yes.
think that was the question.
Yes, that is where we left off. You guys also went to a cabin that used to be Smartledor's, where he grew up in, at the Lake of Elders. You discovered a message saying that all of his machinations have led back to the idea of slaying the Wellspring, which is the God incarnate who created the world and life. So, not too much of a tall order.
He's the uppercase god.
I think
Yeah.
I literally said something like, oh, great, so now we have to kill a god.
Yeah. I
think that was the
not
quote.
bad. Erebus also found out a few things regarding the letter that his father left him. You guys also found out some things about, like, the Elder Dragons and got to see a sneak peek of what their lives were like and why the people worshipped them as much as they did. In Smartledor's deep
That was really
connection.
insightful, actually.
Yeah. Jumping into this episode, we're going to start with a little bit of a talkie. I got a little thing that I'll read before we dive into it. So are we ready to go?
Oh yeah.
Did anyone
much
have
so.
any questions about anything that happened previously?
I don't think so.
No, I think it was covered very well, and I think that those questions will come out during play, and I think that there's going to be a heavy focus on what has happened within the last episode. So I don't think we're going to really visit much of what had happened with the cabin and the lake and what we saw there. But personal opinion, of course. We'll see how far we get, but I think there's a lot of information to unpack and story to tell within the Fey Wild.
Yes. Okay. So we will begin. Phaedra currently stands in the courtyard of Hogwarts, taking in the crowds of children running around in their school cloaks, laughing and playing. The young adults sit around and on top of outdoor tables, chatting and laughing, creating small prestidigitations. Teachers are going over lesson plans or recalling funny student moments from the day with each other. And she remembers the holiday visits to the Castle of Eden within the Fey Wild. Giving tours to the children, hearing the everyday conversations and stories told about the mortal plane and those who reside in it. She takes a deep breath and gathers herself, but is struck and paralyzed at the sight of a young girl with a green hood swinging a long stem of a sunlion weed. "Vine whip," she laughs as other children stomping and roaring about fall over playfully and over-dramatically. A young boy creates sparks from his hands as another in black goes, "No, you've bested me, Coalition, and my horse hates me now." The hooded girl drops down and places her hands on some of the fallen friends and they spring up. "The river of life, the river of life!" She squeezes the note in her pocket, a piece of paper given to her by River in the event she did not return. She thinks of the Titan War and about how she watched it from a distance, beaten and bloody, limping through a field of the dead as Titan fell. She rested among the trees nearby for days to regain her strength and heal, but was often awakened by the random shouts of joy and despair from the valley below the sleeping giants. She thought it was an act of kindness, the sign of a true hero to spend her days, even in downpour, reviving as many souls as she could. But really, it was an act of leadership. It was the action of a queen, a title that was just beyond her reach at that time. The Mother Nature River song changed the world, never knowing her own importance. The great ones never do. She revived their home, stabilized a once dead existence, but most importantly, inspired a change that may not be realized now, but in the future will be woven into the tapestry of history that would make even an elder god jealous. A story of destiny and sacrifice. A pillar of life.
Goosebumps.
Geralt, you were given a moment by Phaedra to collect whoever you wish to bring to the Arborways. What do you do?
Right. Well, I think rather than act it out, I will just say
Yeah.
that obviously we probably should grab the main members, which would be Topher, Erebus, and then now would be Sorrow in this. So this doesn't necessarily have to do with the...
Did you also want to grab, like, Lazarus?
Oh
or
yeah, we're
someone
grabbing
else?
Lazarus and Bert.
Okay.
If available.
Yes.
Which I just don't know if they're at the office. Basically, like, hey Thala, we have to go now, immediately, and you're in charge till we come back. No deals with I say as like a joke.
Yeah. She's like, and laughs, but you can see she's also like, not going to live
And
that
then
one.
if you need anything, make sure you reach out to Scop. He's my right-hand guy. And then we just go.
Okay. So, on your map, I have lit up the nearest Arborway. So she takes the group of you as you make your way down towards Red Larch. The easiest path is going south towards Red Larch, which is just south of Hogwarts, and the nearest Arborway is in between Lazy Brook and Red Larch. You're moving through these trees, and you can see the trees start to change as you go farther into the Dogwood Forest. Now, the Dogwood Forest is a pretty expansive forest. It's been protected from the Dwarven F&M, which resides a little more southwest of this forest. They're not allowed to clear cut there or do any sort of mining. So it's really, because of that, it's one of the luscious parts of Liege in the north.
Could you Tell me what F and M.
Dwarven forestry and mining.
Okay, great.
There is, as you go through and you start reaching some smaller trees that reach up above, creating a canvas, but you also see massive trunks like redwoods that stretch up beyond those. So it's almost like there's 2 layers of canopies for these trees. The taller ones are a little more sparse, but it adds a completely different level of like shadow and dramatic forestry as you make your way through. And Phaedra takes a couple corners, you cross the river, and you start approaching a group of trees. One of the trees, where the bark cracks and splits down like veins down the trunks of the trees within the bark, you can see a faint glow of light coming from between those. And I will have you roll a perception check, Topher.
Perception check. It's the check that proves you're perceptive. I can't remember how to roll it. Wait for it. Roll. Oh, there it goes.
Oh, 25.
It is 25.
Yeah. Okay, so with that 25, you're really familiar with the forest all around Liege due to the Hunters Guild and finding your way through there. You're used to the smells. Your elven abilities, you are so in touch with these woods. You can also trace your way through the woods easily because you have that memory. But something's off as you're making your way towards this arbor way. It's not something around your immediate area, but you smell the
What the
faintest
rock is cooking?
smell. You smell the faintest smell of like rotting flesh.
Ooh.
It's
Rock is a bad cook.
it's God, but you smell the faintest smell of rotting flesh, and you can tell that it's not coming from anywhere around here. It is from some sort of distance, and you think maybe a little more south and also up. But this is a faint smell, and as you get this, Phaedra walks forward and she's like, "Here is the arbor way if you're all ready to enter the Fey Wild."
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I was going to say, I guess it's not my decision.
We've got pressing issues at hand. Going to.
And she goes, "Okay, let's continue." Lazarus is there, Bert is there. As they're making your way through, along with all of you, she starts to approach the tree, and out of 2 surrounding trees, 2 figures move out of them. They are dressed in green cloaks. They have their face painted, and you can tell they're druids. There is one armed with a spear and a shield, and the other with a staff that seems to be singed on both ends like it has been burned. And they stand in front of the arborway and hold their weapon to their chest in unison and say, "In honor of the mother." And Phaedra copies the motion, placing her hand on her sigil. "In honor of the mother." And the druids look at you all.
I think, obviously, in honor of the mother, of course.
In honor of the mother.
Honor your mother.
Word to your mother. Lazarus looks around and he's like, "In honor of the mother." And Bert does a little bow and goes, "In honor of the mother." To them. Does Sorrow do anything?
Sarah does the same thing.
Okay.
They all repeat it.
They all follow. Okay. They look at you and go, "We are the protectors of the Mother River Song. In her name we defend the wild. Garrel, Erebus, Lazarus, Topher. We know your affiliation, and you are granted passage. The others, why do you wish to enter the wilds?" And she's looking towards Bert and Sorrow.
I'm Sorrow, a student of River and a member of the COL. She was my teacher and a fellow member. We were friends.
And Bert looks and says, "Appearances may have changed somewhat recently, but I was also taking part in the Titan War. Bert Grenolds. Maybe you've heard of me." And they nod. And Phaedra, gives a little pass and is like, They're with me." And they both say, "Okay, I would like you to leave your equipment here and you may enter under watch of the Coalition and Phaedra." She says that to Sorrow and Bert. Okay. Do you agree?
Well, I was just trying to think of what weapons Sarah has, and I was going to say she puts them down, but
Yeah.
Yeah,
So just anything
yeah.
that seems threatening.
yeah.
So these are people that...
She's also a sorcerer. So.
Yeah. Yeah, these are people that were in Farabast, and once the Arborways opened up, they decided it was their life goal to protect the Fey Wild, and anyone going in is going in to not do it any harm. So
Is that applying to everyone?
they trust the main coalition that
Okay.
she knows, that they recognize that we're friends of River. I'm sure they somewhat expected you guys to show up at some point. And yeah, and so Phaedra looks to you and nods to them and puts a hand up to her chest again and bows, and she walks through the tree, and the bark spreads apart, giving a bluish glow as the inside of the tree is shown, and creates a portal. And then as she walks through it, it's almost like she's sinking into the bark as it waves over her body and lets her in. So do the rest of you enter?
I pause for a moment and I say, under my breath, "Hey, folk, I'm sure you know what's going on. We're going in. Just so you know where I am."
Okay. And he goes, all right, good luck, buddy.
And then I walk through.
Okay. Same thing. It feels strange. There's almost like a burning chill as you go through. It's not
icy
anything that is painful, but it's
I'll
noticeable, Everyone else goes?
Tover says, "Well, guys, it looks like we're allowed in tree." And then he walks in.
That's too bad I wasn't there to...
Lazarus
Tell you I heard.
cracks up loudly and just strolls in and follows. He loved it.
I jump on Lazarus's back as he's going in.
All right, and he goes, "Bash Brothers!" and carries you in through the tree. The two druids glances like we're making a mistake. And Bert walks through and looks at them and goes, "I'll keep an eye on them." As you go, Sarah?
Sorrow follows them.
Okay, you follow in. You all get that same sensation. You make your way through.
Downtown?
Making your way downtown, walking fast. You guys go through, and as you enter the Fey Wild, you can smell a mixture of fresh spring growth, but also a little bit of decay, like an old pumpkin that's been left out on the front porch,
Right.
Which I know incredibly well because that's basically how we get rid of our pumpkins.
Same.
Yeah.
Every year they just rot until we pick up the goo.
Yeah. So you get this mixture. Everything looks gray. It's dark, but with a slight glow. It's a lot of you have dark vision. Thank you. It's been so long since we played. A lot of you have dark vision, so
A lot of us
you
just
can see
slapped
pretty
on our
clearly.
MDGs and
Yeah, And Phaedra says as she's leading you through and saying, "The Feywild was once bright and vibrant. It is regaining its color, but I have no doubt it will return to its former beauty." And you all look out of what you can see of this plane of existence, and you see a dim sky of a sunrise but no sun. The bioluminescence of plant life glows a pastel, but no more than a candelabra in the dark. It's like watching a black and white picture beginning to be colored in. There are signs of life, new leaves and buds grow around you, and withering fungi seems to be slowly filling out and it's inflating almost.
Is it grayscale? What's that movie?
Wizard of Oz.
No.
I was thinking
No.
Wizard Like the Way until she goes.
Kind of, yeah.
It was somethingville. Smallville.
Oh,
Pleasantville.
Pleasantville. Yeah.
God, I love that movie.
Yeah, it's like you turned everything black and white, but you just bumped it up a tiny bit.
Yeah.
So
It's a vibrant black and white.
yeah.
That's cool.
I need to watch that movie now.
As you continue your journey, dried and cracked riverbeds are trickling with the slightest amount of water, and besides the quiet splashes of the riverbeds, you hear no other sound. The silence is unnerving because usually you would hear some sort of animal or insect, but none exists here. All life had died. There is no wind. Through the dim lights, you can make out cliff sides and rocks, and in the distance, you can see a small plateau rising up about 50 feet. And you notice a slight blue glow on top of it.
A perception check?
Yeah, it's off to the east from where you're walking, so it's not like she's taking you to this place.
So that's a 13.
No, you've seen it before, but you're not entirely sure what this manifestation is. You it has something to do with spirits, but you can't make out exactly what you're seeing from this distance.
Okay.
But you could call out to it if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Or point it out to everyone else so they can
Yeah.
see.
So I thought that everyone died in the Fey realm.
Mm-hmm.
So then the people that were outside were druids from, like, the Conclave?
Yes, from Farabast, who did the whole ceremony, who were at the
ones
ceremony.
that held
Okay.
And
the
when-
ceremony
They didn't
every
come
year.
through the portal to protect it. They came to
No.
the portal to
so
protect it.
so what happened when the Arborway lit up is all those druids in that town saw it as like
This is what we've been waiting for.
armor
Yeah,
up, like this is the moment.
That makes
We're
sense,
not
okay.
losing it again.
Yeah.
And so they went out and they are
I
protectors
just wanted to make
of
sure
the
that, like,
Arborways.
I had that right, that,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
everything is dead in here.
Yes,
Okay.
but it's
Wow.
slowly coming back to life.
Yeah, but, like, there weren't people still living here when it was cut off. Like, everyone...
When the plane died, everything died
Yeah,
with it.
okay.
So
Just-
only the people who evacuated survived, as far
Yeah.
as Drew.
Yeah, so there would have been people that would have died within the plane if they had chosen
Mm-hmm.
not to leave.
But also during River's story, River's mother said that everyone rested and she's the only spirit who stayed behind because she had hope
Yeah.
against hope that possibly someone was still alive and could figure out a way to get
Right.
back to the plane.
I call out to everyone, hey guys, look, it's one of those, it's the spirit, the blue and green spirits, you know?
Sorrow would not see it.
Oh, Sorrow would not see it. Oh, interesting. Okay.
Well, actually, this one she would see, but she wouldn't know about like the spirits of people
She's
you
never
guys have
it
seen.
before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so she would
Okay.
see this specific one, but when someone dies, you guys would probably see a spirit rise up from the body and walk towards the forest, like you have. But Sorrow wouldn't be able to see that.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Okay. Well, anyway, I'll call out to it. Excuse me. Hello,
What
I'm
i-
Garrel.
What is that? Don't talk to
Well, that Sorrow is a spirit. That is a spirit.
me. Is it gonna harm you? Is it,
Well,
Yes.
here I don't know everything about it, which is
Did you
rare
say yes?
for me. But I'm gonna say no. In this place,
Be on your toes.
how do you know it's not dangerous? Have you seen it before?
yes, I've seen many of these during the Titan War.
Okay, I trust you. Go on.
Hello, I'm Garrel, Embersoul, and these are my.
I'm going to assume you're shouting up at it because it is like 50
Yeah,
feet in the
yeah.
air. Okay.
Would it be okay if we came closer?
It does a spin,
Okay,
floating in the air.
I suppose I will go closer and see what it does.
As you get a little bit closer, the light shines a little bit brighter.
I'll continue to go a little bit closer
Okay.
and watch its reaction, like every 5 to 10 feet.
You go, and as it was like floating and moving like a little wisp, it stops and shines more brilliantly, and it starts to take shape, and you can see an ethereal-looking tiger staring at your party from a distance.
trying to remember the name.
Hobbs.
Sorry. Is that?
So then Erebus
Yeah.
yells
I
out,
guess
"Hobbs."
you go. Hey, is that
What is Hobbs doing here?
Hobbs? Of course, Hobbs. What are you doing here?
Hobbs
It's
kind
so
of
good to see you.
Hobbs looks at you, and his tail like twitches, and he runs down the back of the plateau out of sight.
Okay, I run
We
after
gotta
it.
follow him.
I run.
Okay, you go towards the plateau. You start making your way around, and
What's
Hobbs.
that, Hobbs? There's a child stuck in the well?
And Hobbs is gone. You do not know where Hobbs is. You don't see the light anymore. He's just disappeared.
This is a terrible time to play hide and seek, Hobbs.
What do we see in the media area in the place that we thought where they went?
A bunch of dead trees and plants.
Is anything growing here?
Yeah, you can still see like everywhere there's like a little bit of signs of growth.
What I really mean is there a focal point at which we would have thought that they would have been, which would have led us to a particular spot in
Like
which,
where they would have gone.
yeah, and
No.
is that portion different?
No, it's a lot of like it's the Fey Wild. When you look at it, there's a lot of large like mushrooms. A lot of them have like deflated. Lots of large trees, vines, massive shrubs. So it's pretty cookie cutter. Like it's a wild growth forest, basically.
Gotcha.
That the people who lived in this plain, they didn't do anything besides make some different homes like Castle Eden and all that stuff out of the existing flora.
Okay, I say to Phaedra, where in this direction, where would we be headed?
She goes, I wanted to show you a space that I want to honor River, and I wanted to get your opinion.
Okay, but what about Hobbs? You saw that, right?
She goes, yes.
And you know Hobbs?
I can only assume that it was attached to River in some way.
Yes, very much so attached to River. Okay.
And she smiles and she's like, then he will have a home here.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. And yes, please lead the way.
You keep walking, and she takes you guys to an overlook, and you look out and you see a massive canyon. It is again dried and cracked with deep, deep, uneven ground that disappears into the darkness. And she says, this was once called the Breathless Sea. Once the waters start to flow and the waters rise again, I was thinking this could be known as the Sea of Song. You may believe you understand the impact of what River has sacrificed to bring this plane back, but there will be a day when life thrives again in the Fey Wild, and children will dance in the shadow of Eden, and no one will need to worry if complete obliteration will befall them in their sleep. And I hope I live to see that day.
I mean, me too, but I think, I still don't know what it means. I don't understand. I know she's gone. Listen, I know she's gone. But where is she?
She smiles and she says, River Song carries this plane on her shoulders. It ebbs and flows with her. I don't know if her spirit can hear us. I don't think she can speak to us. This is pretty much new to everyone. But even if you could find some sort of connection to her, who is to say she's even really there? Would she remember anything? Or is she just a field of energy keeping this place alive? I do know that her power lives on. That's why this plane exists. I can only imagine the strength it takes to rebuild a world.
So I guess I wonder if Geralt is smart enough to understand how big of a magic that is,
No,
and whether or not it comes to the question essence. That's what it comes to.
Yeah,
It's. I feel like he's smart enough to know that.
Yeah,
like to know that was most likely the culprit.
Yeah,
or at least the conductor. And so I wonder if there's like a check that I could do that would.
I think this is something that you would talk about, being like a scholar and knowing magic. You would bring up to Phaedra, like, what magic would this even be?
Right.
And she explains, like, since it is a plane of nature, and as we've discovered, nature fuels magic in this world. Like, they were incredibly powerful while within the Fey Wild. In the mortal plane, their powers diminished a little bit because there was a lot more buildings and everything else, like a lot of the flora, but the Fey Wild was built as an echo of the magic mutating and creating a new plane.
Got it. So I guess I would talk to Phaedra about, or rather mention to her, like, what had happened within the plane of the gods and what we saw with the pillars that she was able to create and that huge vine whip and all that, and ask if that's the type of magic that would have been used here.
She says, I could only guess, but it would have to be on such an unbelievable level for that to happen.
Okay, I'll pathicate to Topher and everyone but Sorrow for now and say, this clearly is essence, ladies and gentlemen. So be on your guard, I guess. That's really all I have to say. I mean, sarcasm aside, we're in some real trouble. We're in really big trouble, super big, huge trouble right now.
So,
probably not here, but it might be, and we need to figure out how we can
Are they even watching
protect this place.
This? I mean, it's been dead for so long.
I think Voke had said something to me, right? About...
Well, we did a little snapshot of Falia telling Risen that the Fey Wild was back. So she knew because that was River's god that she followed.
Yeah.
And she felt that connection. And then, the Fey Wild coming back, and she told it to Risen. And he said he's only heard of something like that happening one time before, and it was the Wellspring who created life.
I just didn't know. I couldn't remember if it was in my head or if it was on the podcast. I couldn't remember who it was. Was it Matthew or was it Garrel?
Yeah.
And so I couldn't remember whether I knew that as Garrel.
I do want to take a quick second and go around the table and just get character thoughts. I think Lazarus is confused and is thinking about the idea of like, okay, she's dead, but she's not dead, but she's dead. And Bert's just sitting on it and taking it in. What's Topher thinking during all this?
I mean, he hasn't really begun to process the fact that River's dead. He's so numb. But he feels like he knows what nature feels like, and this feels different. Like, not just that, like, River maybe opened a new plane or reawoke a dead area, but like practically recreated a world, you know, out of memory or something. It's almost like, because I mean, none of us have ever been in the Fey Wild before. This is something entirely new, and that strikes Topher, I think, deeply, because he's always felt connected to the world, and he can't decide if he's more or less connected to this one, you know? But it's definitely new.
In your backstory, the village you came from had a statue of an Eladrin who lived in the Fey Wild. So, like, you're somewhat familiar with
I know the
Fey Wild and the history because your village, like, honored someone from this place. That's why they were so protective over, like, their surrounding tree village and all that stuff.
It's like I traveled back in time and didn't recognize my mother because she was a baby.
Yeah.
Michael J. Fox?
And then she tried to seduce you, and your picture was disappearing.
Kissed me in the car. I played Johnny Be Good on the...
and said they're not ready for it yet.
Yeah, because they weren't.
But how's Erebus feeling?
I think Erebus doesn't think of it as that she's dead, but that she's like moved on to something more. So I think he's okay with
how things were left. He's okay with
but that's not something that can be reconciled at all.
Well,
I mean, she left before the party happened, which was really rude. Like, no, he's not thinking any of that. But no, like that's something that like he doesn't have the choice of doing anything about that now. So now it's just, you know, what's the next step?
I really like that viewpoint compared to at the Lake of Elders, like learning more about his ancestry and all Dragonborn being like the child of Geth and like getting more of that input and looking up at the stars and like, you know, charting out things and all that stuff. I really like that Erebus is thinking of it in that way. Like it's a next step of something. Like she's not gone, it's just changed. It's just different. Yeah. Interesting. Sorrow
has not heard of Essence or seen this side of stuff before, and so she's pretty dumbfounded, also pretty confused, but she's obviously mourning the River. River was a mentor to her, but she is pretty like in awe of where they are and that this place exists, but also pretty like confused and in the dark about some of the subtleties of what's going on. So she's probably pretty quiet and just taking it all in.
So as you guys are kind of at this overlook, Phaedra turns and you all turn around to step away from it. And as you turn, you catch a glimpse of a purple portal sitting right there facing you. And it goes and just like absorbs down and disappears.
I don't get a chance to do anything. Too fast?
What would you try to do?
Purple Porter in the Fey Wild.
I guess I have to be quick, don't I?
It'd have to be something pretty quick. What do you try to do?
I cast Blink, and I go through the portal.
Interesting.
It closes in flames.
Depends on how far away it is, but because I only have my movement, right?
Yeah, I think it would... I'm not just making this up so you don't do it. I think it would be farther away from them. Okay. Just because the portals have generally kept a bit of distance. And it's probably about the size of
that's not true. There was the one literally in my room.
That's true, and it gave you your
My
Pokeball.
Pokeball back.
Yeah, but that woke you up, so I think maybe.
I'm just saying.
No, yeah.
Distance wise, we could argue
Yeah.
one or the other.
No, for sure. But I think it's a little bit farther away, and I
Okay.
think it was about the size of maybe like a big microwave.
Okay.
How
I'm trying to think of what else.
How
I can
big
do.
do microwaves get? Hold on, let's have that conversation.
Is it possible to do is there a check I haven't done on this? Or have I ever been able to even do a check on one?
I don't think you've ever been able to do a check.
Okay.
And what would you like to do?
I feel like I can't remember which one gives me more information. I have plus 13 for Arcana checks.
That one gives
That's
you
a
like
quick
the
one.
idea of magic. Detect magic just shows you like magical things.
Yeah.
Like things that
Well,
are magical,
no, I'm trying
I
to think of the other one that's more powerful. And I can't remember the actual name of the spell. And I'll have to see if I even have...
True Sight?
No, it wouldn't be that.
But Arcana would give you something. You should roll Arcana.
I feel like I'm just going to roll Arcana because, to stay true to the story. Oh, that's unfortunate. Thank God it's at least a 9. Okay, so that's 23.
That is absolutely enough for you to like assess this portal and reach out. You're pretty much born from
22.
magic. And you see it and you hyper focus in before it disappears. And you know that these portals don't necessarily have a magical property. It's not a spell.
Well, okay.
It's like you get the sense that it's like someone punching a hole in a piece of paper.
Okay. Do I have time in that moment to say to Phaedra, do you see that?
She goes, yes. Is that you?
No. What is it? And then I would like her to roll a perception check.
I'm not going to roll a perception check because I
outthink this.
literally don't have a stat for that.
Right. I was going to use the old Griffin McElroy roll a d4.
Yeah, but we'll just say she would definitely have really high perception.
I would assume.
And she sees it. She literally has no clue what it is.
Okay. So she's never seen it before.
No, she's seeing it now, and
Okay.
she does not know what it is.
Did anyone else see that?
Yeah.
I think everyone else probably would.
Okay.
As they
Is there
turned around.
anybody that didn't see it? Like, I wanted to know if Sorrow didn't see it because of the spirit.
No, Sorrow would have
Okay.
definitely seen it. Lazarus didn't. He's still looking out at the overlook. Just like, what?
The purple portal Lazarus, it's back.
Oh.
Yeah, and I don't know whether that's good or bad. And I hate not knowing things.
Yeah, I know. Man, hopefully in a few sessions we'll be able to figure it out.
I bet he does say that. Okay, I guess. So, from what I can suss out, OOC, I guess. From what I can suss out, actually, I'll just talk to the party. We should probably do more
Yeah,
roleplay.
Roleplay would be
Okay,
good.
so-
I'd say it's pretty rare for D&D, but we'll give it a shot.
All right, how many of us are there? Y'all, purple portals are back. And I don't know whether that's good or not. Here's what I do know. I've run a quick check, and it doesn't seem to be any specific type of magic. What are your ideas? I know we're dealing with this river.
Well, they've only ever been
I don't
good
know.
things, right?
Not
Didn't the
Maybe.
Dream Eaters come out of
the Dream Eaters came out of them.
Purple portals?
So, no, not
But you also got
necessarily.
your Pokeball out of one.
Yeah, that's one good thing. But I think everything else has been pretty much bad.
What if this is the wellspring itself just fucking with us?
Well, here's what I'm thinking. What if it's... I mean, we already thought this, right? It's a plane. It's a way into a plane. But why is it following us? It's not everywhere.
Has
It has to
anyone
do with us,
Heard
right?
from Shanti?
I mean,
Didn't he die?
No, he
No.
was still there fucking with the portals.
Well, here's the thing. I know what happened to him, but Geralt doesn't know what happened to him. So last we spoke with Shanti, he was working on a way to open a doorway and try to figure out what was happening with the purple portals. Obviously, he's looking for his wife, and we can't fault him for that. But I sent a letter to him a while back, and I haven't heard. So I honestly, I have no idea where he is. It could be Shanti, but it was before Shanti. So, but it was before.
I don't think the purple portals are him. I was just wondering, has he made any progress
Does he have
on
any
it?
information?
Yeah.
Well, then when we get back, we'll contact him, because otherwise, I don't know. I mean, we're gonna have to.
Because he was able
over
to
the
get
cleric school and see, what do we call her? Can't remember.
He was able to get everybody to the plane of the gods, but that wasn't through a
Sorrow,
purple portal,
yes.
right?
What color was the portal, Sorrow?
Or did they ever?
Purple.
Purple. It was purple.
Okay,
Definitely purple.
So you have seen this before.
Yeah. I
Just
don't
now.
think it was a question of if Sarah had seen the portals before. It was some of the planar stuff. She doesn't know about essence and the spirits,
Sure.
but she's seen the purple portals before.
Okay.
Not with the Dream Eaters, but
There's too many things going on. We have to focus.
you got to pick one.
We can't pursue the purple portal. It's gone. Are there any...
So what are we doing here?
Well, we're trying to learn as much as we can.
Yeah, but everything's dead.
Phaedra speaks up and she goes, well, there is one thing that I wanted to give you since you were here. And she takes a note out of her pocket of her robes and hands it to you.
Which one is?
She just holds it out for anyone to grab. Who grabs it?
I think I would grab it.
Okay. Carol grabs
Immediately.
it. And you open it?
Yeah, of course.
It explodes. You didn't check for traps, you dumb son of a bitch.
You should know. You lost both your hands.
The one time.
Okay.
That's all
Adrian.
it takes.
Adrian, do you want to tell us what the note says?
So you look at the parchment and it's in River's handwriting that you recognize. And it says, thank you for being the family I never had. You gave me something I'd never thought I would have in this world. A sense of belonging and a purpose. Topher, I loved you like a brother, and I'm glad I got to know you. Know another of my kind and finally feel a sense of family with you. Geralt, I know you understand and will try to find my salvation. That's what I loved about you, your determination and heart. But if you are reading this, I've succeeded and know that this is what I wanted. You couldn't have stopped me. Erebus, I wish things were different between us. We were partners in crime at one point, but that is long gone. I know you can recover and do the COL proud. Let go of your greed. There are things worth far more than power and gold. I'll miss you all. Don't forget me. You altered my path and made me become a part of a world I was intent of merely observing, and you made me better. I only hope I did justice in your eyes. River.
Well, Geralt starts crying.
Topher started crying when the note said Topher,
That's...
and he's on his knees.
I think, obviously, Geralt would read
River's
it out
crying
loud.
reading
and
it because I teared up when I was reading.
How does Sorrow feel? Like, for example, because she wasn't mentioned, is that a...
No, I think she realizes that you guys, that the original CLO members held a special place for River, that there was a relationship there that she just would never be a part of. And she also doesn't know when River wrote the letter, so it could have been before the bonds were strengthened between her and River. So I don't think she really thinks much of it. She knows that River meant for her to take her place. When she contacted her, when she left the trial and she had Sorrow go in her stead, she felt like she was going to be there, even though the show was temporary at the time. So I don't think she feels left out or anything. She knows that those you three have a place for River that she didn't, and she doesn't feel like that's meant to hurt her in any way.
I was just wondering.
Yeah.
I think Geralt literally wipes his nose and dabs his eye and then grabs his wand and does every check he can possibly do on the note. And he wants to make sure that it's really from her.
Yeah.
I mean, he's smelling it. He's like putting pieces of it. He's burning the edges. Like he's doing Arcana checks and like everything he can, because he can't, like, he knows it's the truth, but he can't believe that she's gone.
Phaedra looks at what you're doing as you're messing with the note, and is kind of like, and Lazarus just puts a hand on her shoulder and is like, he does this. You just gotta let him do it.
And after like 10 minutes
Lazarus
or something,
seems like sad.
maybe even longer, he's like, no, I've done the checks.
It's a mimic.
and it's real. It's really from her. It's really from her.
I already knew that.
Yeah, Geralt.
She's gone. I guess she's here, but she's gone.
Erebus, she said, what are we doing here? I think I'm here to pay my respects. And to see, what for River was worth dying for. And I feel like I can already see how beautiful it will be.
Lazarus is nodding, and he's like, yeah, she's always did her thing and made her own decisions.
Well, she definitely did that.
And Bert's just silent.
I'm proud of her. Don't ask questions, just do shit. That's the way.
In the end, she took a page out of Erebus's book.
Well, Phaedra, what do we do now? How can the Coalition... How can
we help
Yeah.
get this place going? Like, does it just need time? Does it need magic? Does it need...
She looks at all of you and she goes, I brought you here because you needed to know what happened. You needed to know why it happened. And I thought this would help bring some sort of closure. What I need from you going forward is we need to make sure that nothing else comes into this Fey Wild and give it time to grow and be reborn and flourish. We need to ensure that no one is planning on constructing anything here. It must remain in its natural state.
Well, it sounds like the druids have the arborways covered.
They do.
So
hold on, that's one arborway and 2 people.
There's 4.
And she's like, do not underestimate them.
I mean, this is literally what they've been looking forward to.
How do we protect... I mean, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but 4 people's not enough.
And
I could take out 4 people now with my eyes closed, and I'm not being a jerk. I'm being serious that 4 people's not enough.
she's smiling at you and she says, 1, then that's a good thing you're on our side. And 2, there isn't just simply 4, there are hundreds. And they are just laying in wait, protecting the Fey Wild. One thing I want you to understand about this plane that was my home, is that we are not losing it again. And something that the Coalition perhaps needs to learn is that there are more of us. You do amazing things. You protect a lot of people and you save a lot of things.
Wait, there's
And
more dryads? Or there's more
no, but there's more
arbor keepers.
more Arborway guardians and people that want to protect the Fey Wild.
I think arbor keepers was pretty good.
Okay, Arbor Keepers. Yeah, we'll go with Arbor Keepers. And she just says, like, you are not alone in defending the Fey Wild. And as the Coalition, you can't do everything.
No, that's why I said, what can I do? I specifically changed it because lately it seems that people keep putting us on this pedestal. We're just people.
Yeah.
Just people. we're doing our best, and people put a lot of faith in us, but we're just trying to. I mean, if you only knew what I know, then you would understand the task ahead of us is impossible. And I suppose that maybe I'm trying to avoid it for a short time because I don't know how to do it, and again, that's rare. I think we're gonna have to like grow our ranks. There are only so many of us, and we run a school, and we do our best, but some people hate us, and that's fine. I don't really care that much. And I guess I should probably care more about all the stupid politics, but I don't. And I just want to help people. That's all I want to do. That's what I was made to do. I have all this information. I can't use it all the time, and I just want to help. I guess in my grief, perhaps I'm a little unhinged. I just wanted. I wish she would have said goodbye.
She nods, and she says, I don't know if she was given a chance.
Yeah, maybe that's true.
And,
but I know River.
Yeah. and she says, there's a lot of things on your plate, a lot of things ahead of you, things that, like you said, I don't understand. She's like, but do you know how we get forests? Do you know how we get luscious fields of flowers? It all starts with one seed. We just need to start with one seed, and the rest will come.
I search through my bag.
And you take out a seed?
I wonder if I have one. And I want to be like, literally, I want to see.
Roll for need.
Okay. It's a 12 plus anything?
You have a pine cone.
Nature. Add your nature.
Okay, let me see what my nature is. It's probably bad.
I want to help.
It's probably bad.
Are we trying to get a seed?
Nature
Oh.
6. It's 18.
18? Okay, everyone roll plus nature.
I know it's silly, but it's like a
Topher's
gesture.
nature
of
score
like,
is like really low for some reason.
it's probably wrong then.
Did you roll it?
4.
Oh, yeah, you rolled a 2 plus 2. Topher doesn't have any seeds. You rolled a what?
18
18?
total.
Okay. You,
Rolled a 14.
14? Okay. Garrel, you pull out a little sunflower seed.
I guess I go to the overlook and
Yeah.
and I dig a hole and I plant the seed.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I'd say, I know this doesn't mean much, but would you watch over it?
Of course.
And he like produces water and waters it.
That was. Oh, I wanted to produce water.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Actually, I don't know if Topher has that skill.
It's called...
I hand
it's,
my flask or whatever.
Okay.
Topher doesn't have.
I'm trying to remember. Like, Geralt doesn't know anything. I know that there's
Well,
a
you-
ruined castle.
Yes,
right?
you
And-
would know of Eden. She's mentioned it, and it would be
Okay.
in your history books.
Right. Okay. So I think Phaedra, can you point us to the way of Eden?
Yeah, and she...
Also,
Wait,
Phaedra,
are we going looting?
No, Erebus, of course not. Also, why this place, Phaedra? Why overlooking the sea? Why this place? Is there any significance to you, I guess?
She says, I spent my entire life inside of a castle, aiding the Mother Nature, the Queen of the Fey Wild. I never got to see the ocean.
Oh, Wow, I'm so sorry. Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
And you want to go check out Eden. So she takes you through. You see a lot of the same darkness and decay. She takes you to an area with overgrown but like dead plants, cobblestone, and like what looks like almost some homes carved out of like massive gourds, but the gourds are like sunken in.
Okay.
There are a lot of lit up arborways, and in Sylvan, I don't know if anyone speaks Sylvan.
I don't.
Yeah, there are words of Sylvan underneath the trees,
Not that I'm aware of.
underneath the arborways. And she takes you to this massive, massive tree. And it's hollowed out with large wooden doors, and they're like off the frame. And it just looks really like decrepit. And she's like, this is Eden.
I ask mending on the doors.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I want the doors to like fix themselves.
Yeah, it goes up and it reattaches. You're able to fix them.
And then I'll like walk in.
Yeah.
And I guess I check with Phaedra. Like, it's okay that we're here, right?
And she goes, I don't know of anyone who would complain.
Right. Okay. Well, could you show us around, I guess?
Sure. She takes you into the grand entrance. It's a huge circular hall. So this tree trunk is like incredibly massive. It's the size of Hagrid's as a whole. Like, it's huge. Everything's so overgrown here. There's a massive round, almost dome-shaped inner entryway with a bunch of different pathways and some carved out steps going up. She takes you through a few different rooms. She takes you to her old room where everything's like withered away, but you could tell that there was like a bed and maybe some things like around the room. And she's like, this is where I actually helped raise River as she was a baby. And she takes you around to some different rooms. She takes you to the Queen's quarters where River was born and explains that backstory piece to you. And she takes you to the main throne room, the meeting room. And as you enter, you see the different kind of chairs that have decayed. The table's collapsed in. And the throne chair has a bunch of wilted roses around it that are mostly lost their color, but just around the tips and edges of the rose petals, it is a bright pink.
A quick investigation?
Yeah.
No, nat 20 plus 13, 33.
Yeah, you can tell that there is a life in these specific roses, and they are different than roses you have seen on the mortal plane.
Okay. Hey, Topher.
Yes.
So you see the roses, yeah? These ones are different, not the same. Have you ever seen anything like this?
No.
Phaedra speaks up and she's like, these roses signified the mother or the queen. This was her chair. Usually they depicted whatever emotion the queen had when she sat in it.
What does that color mean then?
She looks at him and she's like, well, there's the faintest pink that's generally joy.
Joy. I think, weirdly, Geralt goes and, like, sits in the chair, but not in a, like, disrespectful, I'm the king way, but more like, almost like, I don't know how to say this. I don't know how to say it. Like, he touches the chair first.
Yeah.
And then he does something that he doesn't, I think, it's slightly out of character for himself, which is to not use magic, but to, like, feel something.
Yeah.
I guess, if that makes any sense. More like just be in the moment and, like, try to
change
sense
them with your
River?
emotions,
Yeah.
or
No,
trying to...
more like think about River.
Okay.
Think about River, yeah.
You sit in the chair and that slight piece of pink turns yellow.
Okay. But do I see that?
Yeah.
Okay. What does that mean, Phaedra? Yellow.
Like friendship bond.
Yeah.
I think it's been too long since you went to the bathroom.
Your bladder's full.
I think he, like, just puts his hands on the chair and speaks under his breath, like, really softly, like...
What's that?
He says, I know I couldn't have stopped you, but I really miss you. And I know this is silly, but I just hope that you're happy. I hope that you're content. And please call on me when you need me. And I'll always be here for you. I've always been here for you, and that's not gonna stop now. this is out of character for me, but we love you and we miss you. And I wish you were here. Still.
The edges of the petal turn a deep red.
I guess I asked Phaedra what that means.
Love.
Love. I think he just sits in silence for a few moments, perhaps.
Frank's climbing up the back
You would.
of the throne.
You would. You'd ruin a beautiful
I love you too. Phaedra puts her hand on yours, Geralt, and she's like,
right there.
maybe now's a good time to leave.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what to
Jeez, Phaedra. Now that you're crying and you've turned the roses red, get the fuck out. Wait. Phaedra, how many arbor ways are there?
She's like, in the courtyard there are 13 arbor ways.
So 13 ways from our plane to get into this one?
Yes.
But there's a lot more than that total, aren't there?
Yes, across the Fey Wild, there's more. The one you guys came in was not at this little court area.
Sure.
She's like, throughout the Fey Wild, it's all depends. This is an echo of your plane. Basically, the arbor ways are pathways where a tree exists on both planes.
So the more they cut the forest down, the less arbor ways there are. That's cool. So it's like twin trees.
So do you guys leave the Fey Wild?
Well, Phaedra says it's time to go, and I don't know anything about the Fey Wild, and so I think the only question, the last question I would ask to her, because he's been pretty silent as we walk back through the castle and like get to the main entrance again, and then Erebus asks the questions. We're at the arbor ways, right? In the courtyard area, I assume at this point. And I say, should we, I know this sounds mean, rude, quick judgment, I don't know. Should we destroy them? Do we need to protect this place? Like, is having less arbor ways open better?
She says, no.
No.
Eventually this place will be thriving, and things were great when the planes interacted. It was just the instability of the Fey Wild that caused the main issue. Luckily, we had plenty of people who lived here who was able to stop anyone wanting to abuse our plane from coming in. And we will get there again. It's just a matter of making sure that it matures.
Who's in charge now? I mean, River, but who's in charge now?
She shrugs. She's like, I guess I would call myself the voice of the mother at this point, since I knew what she wanted and I had served under the queen before for many, many years.
Will you come with us? Are you staying here?
I will probably spend most of my time here, but if you ever need me, feel free to reach out. And she takes out an eyelash and hands it to you.
You knew I was going to ask, didn't you?
Although
I
it
was
does.
wondering if you can pathicate across planes.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Phaedra, can we return? Should we ever want to feel close to River?
Of course.
This
Is time
kind of
funny here?
brave and-
No. Time passes the same in this plane as it does in your mortal plane.
Okay.
Who will be here to protect you?
I'll leave Frank.
She looks at you and goes, I wouldn't worry about my protection.
Yeah, you're right. And he looks back towards the throne room.
Phaedra, damn it, that's embarrassing.
Did you want to say something to her? Or was that, okay, yeah. She just laughs. Okay, so you guys decide to leave. Maybe you linger at the doorway a little bit before taking off.
Yeah.
But as soon as you leave the arbor way and the Fey Wild is quiet, the light of the sky brightens slightly and then begins to dim, pulsing slowly like a heartbeat. Clouds roll in from the horizon and fills the sky, darkening the landscape once again. When the chair holding the roses loses its color and goes to sort of a light gray, and it begins to rain.
Don't do this, mean Quarry.
You walk back out of the arbor way, and Lazarus turns to Bert and he's like, I don't know what the rest of you are all doing, but I got a lot of paperwork. I got to get back to the school. And Bert's like, yeah, I think I will join him as well.
I love you too.
Yep. They say love you. They give hugs as they start making their way back. Topher, roll another perception.
Okay, 20.
Okay.
But not natural.
You can smell that smell before you walked in, that undead, like rotting flesh. A little bit stronger now as you exit and everyone's saying their goodbyes, and you swear you hear, just on the wind coming from the trees from up above, some chanting.
Oh, I didn't want to say anything before, but I smelled some rotten flesh, and I smell it stronger now. And I feel an unwelcome presence. And I also think I might hear some chanting.
Chanting.
Where is it coming from?
I do a perception check as well, so I see if I can hear it.
It'd be southwest.
Southwest.
That's rude. 17.
17? Okay. I don't think you can hear the chanting necessarily, but like your arcane knowledge, you feel something is off.
Okay.
Nearby.
I cast, what's that, arcane shield or whatever? I'm going to do that immediately and then check in with the guards real quick.
Yeah.
How many are there visible?
There are 2 visible.
I walk over to the first one and I say, are there more? Of you, I mean.
There are much more of us.
Here. No. Here.
They could be here in a split second.
I think we're going to need a few.
Okay.
But don't leave the other arborways open. You understand, right?
Yes, of course.
Can you smell it? Can you feel that?
She puts her hand on a nearby tree, and she goes. And then as she closes her eyes and like focuses on the tree, she opens her eyes wide and looks straight up through the treetops and goes, something's wrong. And we are going to fade out from that. And we are going to fade into somewhere else in the woods. Lazarus is walking back to the school, and he's like, everything's fine. Everything's fine. Right, Bert? And he turns, and Bert isn't around. And he's like, everything's fine. Everything's fine. And we cut to Bert, who is standing around some different trees. And he walks over to a nice little area with some wildflowers and, different roots like sticking up out of the ground around these different trees. And he kneels down and puts his hands on his knees as he sits down and touches the grass and feels it on his fingers. And he just says to himself, we are remembered for our sacrifices, and I promise, River, that you will indeed be remembered. And if anything tries to tarnish your name or the things you have done, he takes a breath and he says, I want you to know I did not defeat my demons. I locked them away. And if anything happens, I will unleash them. Lazarus arrives at Hagrid's and walks through the doors and waves at some of the teachers and goes to his quarters where his wife is there, and she's like, what's going on? And he looks at her and goes, well, she's gone. And he just collapses on the floor, and she comes over and she hugs him. She's like, what's going on? She's gone. And we fade out from there. And we open at Tech Inc.
Don't make me feel things and then make me angry about things.
Alistair is sitting in his office looking over his trophy cases. There are some empty spaces. He's looking at them. Someone comes rushing into his office and goes, Alistair, we have a little bit of a problem. And he goes, what's the matter? He's gone. Who's gone? He's gone. No. And goes down the stairs. They go out to the manufacturing floor where people are working, creating some of their items. He goes over to a back wall, hits a couple tiles on it, and a doorway slides open. and he walks into a darker set of rooms where different items are being created that they don't necessarily want the public to know about. And he walks into one of the back rooms. A guard lets him in, the door opens, and he goes in and stares at a back wall where a container with arm straps and leg straps stand open. And he goes, huh. Okay. What about the weapon? The guy goes, it's gone too. He walks over to another case, unlocks it, opens it up, and in it, there is an empty casing where a weapon used to be. And he smiles to himself and goes, perfect. And that's it.
Dang it. That's so good. You guys don't understand.